p.m., and that we are at the council chambers. Town Hall, 200 South Street, Morristown. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided according to law by written notice to the Morris County Daily Record, the official newspaper of the town of Morristown, and to the North Star Ledger, both more than 48 hours ago, posted on the bulletin board at Town Hall, and filed with the office of the town clerk of the town of Morristown. Let me further state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly described by me in this public announcement. Roll call of council members. Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Here.
Ms. Foster.
Here.
Ms. Harris, Council President, I spoke with her, she is trying to come. Mr. Iannacono.
Here.
Council President Armington.
Here.
Council President, you have a quorum. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to ask that you please join us in observing a moment of silence. Council members or mayor, is there anyone that you wish to have the dais remember this evening?
Just to keep our CFO, Frank Mason, and his family in our prayers, as he lost his sister. So I'd like to keep Frank, you and your family. I don't know if he's here. Is he here?
He's here.
He's here. So we'll keep his family in our prayers as they're going through their grieving period. It was a great loss to him.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Pledge allegiance.
Are we kneeling? We should have locked arms. That would have been good.
On the agenda items, council members, you have no items on the agenda.
Maybe it's going to be late.
You have no items on the consent agenda this evening. Public hearing of citizens. Any member of the public wishing to address council, please come forward. State your name, your address, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Any comments deemed derogatory or offensive shall be ruled out of order. You may come forward at this time. I see this gentleman with his hand up on the left.
My name is Richard Schwartz. I live at 44 Ridgedale Avenue here in Morristown. And I want to thank the council for putting on your agenda the Fair and Welcoming Communities Resolution. Thank you very much for taking that action. The resolution calls not for the obstruction of federal laws, for non-compliance with federal laws. It primarily calls on the town to refuse respectfully any invitations from the federal government to take part in any kind of joint operations. And I think this is entirely appropriate. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution lands squarely the power over immigration law with the federal government. The framers of our Constitution intended not for local governments or state governments, but for the national government to be in charge of making and administrating immigration law. As such, I really don't see where there's any obvious constitutional role for us in this. So I support the Fair and Welcoming Communities Resolution, and I hope that you will too. There are a number of people around the room tonight for whom I have cast my votes over the years. I have cast my votes for you in confidence that you would administer our town, run our town well, do the oftentimes unglamorous, oftentimes thankless work of local government. And I think you've done that very well. I very much have appreciated that. I think we have a terrific town here. But I've also cast that vote sometimes in hopes that when the chips were down, you would come through. And I think the chips are down right now. The chips are down for our undocumented neighbors and for their children. I hope that those children, God willing, report to school tomorrow at places like Hillcrest and Woodland, Alfred Vale, Sussex Avenue, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, Frelinghuysen Middle School, Morristown High. And I hope those children will tomorrow or sometime very soon learn that their town government has stood up for them. I think if they know that, then they'll have learned something very important and very good about our town, our nation, and about American democracy. So I urge your adoption of the resolution, and I thank you for putting it on the agenda, and I thank you for listening to me tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Ms. Brady, I see your hand up. And then the gentleman on the left that just stood up.
Margaret Brady, 1 Franklin Place. I had put way back my subconscious a lot of the terrors of my childhood because my father was an undocumented worker during, an undocumented immigrant during World War II. And we lived in constant fear. And as a child, I lived in constant fear. So I welcome the resolution you have on the agenda tonight. Then I won't belabel this next thing anymore, but at the last meeting, I brought up the fact that our sidewalk does not belong to us, and I was told there was an ordinance that said it did. And so I looked up the specific wording in the ordinance, and as it relates to our property, it states, all owners of property abutting a street or highway. Our property is 14 feet away from the street or sidewalk, and we obviously don't abut it. And so we don't fit the ordinance, and I'd like the town to follow up on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brady. Sir, please come up.
Excuse me, guys, I go a little slow. I'm Donald Kissel. I live at 91 Chestnut Street in Morristown. Been a resident of this town for over 50 years. Voted for a lawful lot of you that's sitting at this table. Served on a number of town committees, 11 years as a member of the zoning board, 4 years as a member of the Environmental Commission. Now I work for the town of Morristown on the Water Authority. So my heart is in Morristown. I'm going to make a diversion here. I'm going to tell you that I really like my cops in Morristown. I like my cops because when I had a pacemaker put in and I fainted at home, in 3 minutes the cops were at my door, taking me to the hospital. And when I had the pacemaker put in and was just about recovering from anesthesia, who should show up but the cop who took me to the hospital? He was on his own time. He's a cop from Morristown. When the overhead wires got knocked down and I saw a wire running around in my street, I got nervous. I didn't know whether it was electric or something serious. I called the cops, and the cop came out and said, "Oh yeah, I know you." Fixed the wire for me. He said, "No, it's not a serious wire, but I'll get it off the road and we'll have it fixed in a couple of days." It was a Verizon thing. Basically, what I'm saying is, I think the cops in Morristown are terrific. The thing is, what I don't want is ICE cops coming into Morristown. And what fair and welcoming communities are set up to do is to keep ICE cops where they belong, outside of my town. And I hope you will all think about the implication of the need to prevent ICE from coming into Morristown. Fair and welcoming does not take money out of our coffers. And even if it did, churches and support groups said they would cough up the $6,000 that someone would attempt to take away from us. So you hear support from the community. You hear support for something that you all did together is to pass the Morristown IDs. That's the first step. Now please put on the agenda as a first reading, fair and welcoming as a resolution, not an ordinance, as a resolution. You all carefully know the difference. The resolution of fair and welcoming will do wonders for our town, as it has for several towns in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kissel. Anyone else wishing to address council at this time? Sir, please come up.
Good evening, all. Orville McNally, 29 Franklin Place.
May I have your name again, please?
Orville McNally.
Thank you, Mr. McNally.
Yes, good evening, Council President, Ms. Dees, Ms. Harris, neighbor, Toshiba. Yes, today, the 26th of September, is a significant day in my life, as it's my grandfather's 115th birthday, but it's also the day that I got hired in Morristown that brought me to Morristown. And ever since I've been here, it's been nothing but welcoming to me. But for the last 3 weeks or so, I've met a significant amount of incredible people that I marched with and camped out with, etc. But it was heart-wrenching to hear the personal stories of children not going to sleep, not knowing if they're going to wake up and not have their parents with them. And I just found that just totally disheartening and heart-wrenching. And then as I got to know them more and their education level and their contribution, and then the details that they have to pay, I don't remember how much, $400 or $500 or whatever the amount for the DECA, whatever application, and it's just not welcoming. And I can't speak about being an illegal immigrant, but I could speak about being profiled. And it's not a safe thing for no one. It's not a safe thing for anyone. And it's not a good feeling at all. It really takes away our human dignity to be innocent, but yet treated like you did something wrong. I speak English well. I understand the law well. I could defend myself as an American citizen, as a military Marine. I have no issues with that, but these people are innocent, hard-working people, similar to my grandpa when he came to America and worked countless jobs, so my now 96-year-old grandmother could live 24 hours around the clock with, people to serve her and, keep her as human as possible. So I just ask the council to please consider you took the first step. It was like, wow, Morristown's going to give IDs. So on my limited knowledge at that time was great. But then as I found out more, like the gentleman that preceded me, there's a difference between an ordinance and a resolution. So I would just ask the town to kindly please, as a compassionate, humanitarian, just do as a gentleman's asked, just let's discuss it. And the more we discuss it, we'll see that it's fair. It's really fair and welcoming that these humans, these God's children, which we all are, have a place in Morristown. I thank you for your time, your support, and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. McNally. Mr. McNally, may I have your address again, please?
9 Franklin Place.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gloria Hugh, spelt H-U, and I live at 81 Overlook Road here in Morristown. So good evening, and thank you again for opening this time to general remarks. I'm also here to voice my support for a fair and welcoming community resolution here in Morristown. Now, over the past few months, I've had the chance to look at the resolution myself, and I think there are three things that really stuck out to me as compelling reasons that we should consider adopting it as a resolution for Morristown in particular. The first one is supporting positive police relationships. The second is promoting equal access to resources. And the third is the universal and spillover benefits that I think it confers on all of us as residents of Morristown. So to the first point about community policing, I'm a member of the Presbyterian Church of Morristown, and last summer we had a presentation featuring the Black Lives Matter representatives, and they talked about the conversations that they had had with our local police force, and they described them in a very positive manner. And I think many Morristown residents feel very safe with the police force that we have in the community. And I think as in order to codify our commitment to community policing, I think that this measure is particularly important because we're showing that we are equipping and supporting our local police force to do the best job that they can for our community. I also believe that passing this resolution would make Morristown safer for all of us because undocumented immigrants would also be empowered to interact with police, whether it's as reporters of crime, as witnesses of crime, or as victims of crime. The second point about promoting equal access to resources, my mom has worked at my local school district back home for a number of years, and she's decided to go back to school to become a teacher. And one of the reasons she decided to do this was because she saw from a very young age how young children fall behind when they don't have equal access to resources. And so I think that this resolution would show our commitment to keeping families together and providing the stable environment and access that children need to thrive. And I'd love to see that every child who lives in Morristown is given the opportunity to thrive because of our local policies and not in spite of them. And my final point is just the universal benefits conferred on the town. I think the first one is that this resolution, in reading it, is not just about undocumented immigrants. It's about providing equal access, regardless of race, sexual orientation, financial status, disability status, gender identity, and a host of other things. And I think this really promotes the idea that social cohesion is not dependent on homogeneity, and that we can be a cohesive, unified, and diverse town. So those are the reasons that I believe a fair and welcoming resolution would be very appropriate for our town, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hu. Ma'am, please come up. And sir in the back.
Hello, my name is Jessica Helterman, and I live at 28 Franklin Street here in Morristown, across the street. And I think that we should have the resolution for a fair and welcoming community because of the fact that we can learn a lot from these people who are here, even if they're illegals. We can learn a lot from them. We can learn a lot from their heritage, their culture, and a lot of other things. And also, our whole country is made up of immigrants. I mean, we were welcoming immigrants from as far back as the next big holiday coming up, which is Thanksgiving, major holiday. You know, people on the Mayflower were immigrants. I mean, my family came over on the Mayflower. My family also came over from the Pale settlements in Russia and in Poland and stuff like that. And so we were all from different places. Some people from Africa, some people from China, some people from other places. And all I'm saying is that, we should adopt this because we can learn a lot and learn a lot more from these people, and it would really be good for the community to have these people here and not be afraid that they're going to be sent back to a place where they don't know anything about, because they were here long before. I mean, they remember they remember only this place. The dreamers and all that stuff, and also the people that came with them, their parents, know only this place. They don't know about what's back where they came from. And so basically, I just think that this resolution should be adopted because we need to learn a lot more from these people and need to know a lot more from them, and they can learn a lot from us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Helterman.
My name is Charles Perez. I live on 15 Lawrence Street, Dover, New Jersey.
May I have the address again, please?
15 Lawrence Street, Dover, New Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Perez.
I am the associate pastor at the Morristown United Methodist Church for a Hispanic congregation called Nueva Esperanza that's only a year old. I find it quite interesting that when certain things affect us, when it gets personal, you know, when people around loved ones have cancer, then they get involved. You know, I've seen it in my life when something touches people you love or you care about, you get involved because that's just something in the human being that you just must do as a way to bring hope. I want to share a quick story. I have and I'm sorry, this thing is going off. I don't know why. I told her to turn it off, but I didn't do it. I have a colleague. He's a pastor in Detroit, Michigan. He has an autistic child. And he started noticing how hard it was to be a father to an autistic child. And he also started noticing how many parents had autistic children. And so he started to come up with this program to emotionally support parents, how to deal with it, how to manage it, how to live the best life you can. And it was something that was so incredible for the people that the school systems in Detroit actually adopted it. And now today, all these parents know how to live a better life and how to deal with their autistic child. And it's interesting, he told me it's not till it becomes personal that you get involved. I have parents who are immigrants, came in the 60s and 70s. My father's from Cuba, my mom's from Colombia. And these are true stories. As I have started this new Hispanic ministry, let me tell the stories that have been going on in Morristown. How hard it was for a family just to get an apartment because they are undocumented, because they can't put their number right there because they don't have a social security number. As people said to me, and I had to hold myself, where they said, I'm sorry, I'm not renting out because they don't speak English. And how difficult and hard it was to they finally got an apartment, but it was not an easy route. As I see a woman that, you know, her husband got deported and eventually, unfortunately, he passed away. And the kid is part of my youth soccer team. And she's not feeling well. She's bummed out and she doesn't even know how to read Spanish. She's documented and she wants to get her license. So I sit with her once a week just to be able for her to understand so she could get her license. You know, just to bring me as someone who knows English, who's been educated, to immigration in Elizabeth, just for the sake of them having someone that could speak English. And so when I see this, I'm gonna be very frank. I'm like, man, to be an immigrant or undocumented really sucks. It is hard and difficult. And I'm telling you stories that I'm seeing with my congregation, people right before me, people who have lives, are human beings just like anyone else. And with that said, I'm a very unorthodox kind of pastor. I love to freestyle. I'm not gonna rap or anything here. I've done it in front of Ferlehuysen. One of your officers actually came up to said, "Do that again. That was hot." And so, so I did more like a spoken word, more like some poetry, and it's called "The Voices That Are Not Heard." I come into this country with a dream for a better life, but I need a team of people who will help me because I'm lost in this country. Why is it that when I speak Spanish, it is difficult for some people to embrace me? I feel all alone with barely any family. It's harder to get a job and to keep it constantly. I wait by the train station to get picked up, but it's a job that is not so steady. A lot of us, we don't speak the English language. Some of us, we're on the streets just begging for a sandwich. Some of us are scared for our children who are in your school systems to learn English as a new language. Would they be treated with hospitality or as a savage? Some of us can't even read in Spanish. Just listen to some politicians, men and women with so much influence and power to make a negative or positive difference. We need a community and our officials to cultivate a place to listen to the cry of the voiceless and to embrace a fair and welcome resolution to all of our immigrants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Anyone else wishing to address council?
I'm Allison Miller, the minister at the Morristown Unitarian Fellowship. I live at 22 Fairmount Avenue in the Burnham Park area. And I'm a mom at the Hillcrest School as well. I'm here, like everyone it seems tonight, to speak on behalf and in favor of a fair and welcoming resolution. And I think it is critical that you have the courage to pass this resolution tonight. This was brought up months ago, and there are people in our community and all around the country living with fear, and I have to share, fear that makes sense. I have gone with residents of our community to ICE check-ins, and something that I have observed is that those that are companioned and accompanied by clergy like myself, by English speakers, as we were just hearing about, are returned to their families. And those that don't have anyone watching or companioning them often leave in handcuffs. What are their stories? Were they not able to convey the way that they have been law-abiding residents of our community for decades, working, living, and going to schools in our midst? I think we have to really engage with the fact that we are living in divisive times, and we must take a stand on the side of compassion. And in fact, I want to thank this town for having the foresight to launch the new municipal ID program. I think that's a very positive step in the direction of saying that everyone who lives in this community is worthy of dignity. Everyone here in this community, their children, their families, their lives matter to us, and we are willing to create a school system, housing, and employment opportunities that take everyone into consideration. When we have had ICE come into our town in the past and have given them liberal access to our community, in this room, we heard stories. I'm a citizen and resident here of 12 years. We heard stories about ICE entering people's homes and wantonly pointing guns at 6-year-olds' heads. We had children from our schools crying at this very microphone and sharing how afraid and fearful they were and the experiences they had witnessed with elder siblings and in their very own schools. We cannot pretend that we have no experience of ICE entering our community in divisive ways in the past. And I would say we must be wary of the very positive reputation of our police force being damaged by blessing the conduct of ICE, no matter what, something that you don't have control over, Mayor Doherty, if we work too closely with them. And right now, already, somebody who commits a crime is not someone we are talking about protecting. So the laws are on the side of people who have been victims of crimes. And we do not need to talk about fears about foreigners committing crimes at disproportionate rates. Number one, it isn't true. And number two, we have laws in place in order to deal with that. Let us not criminalize poverty. Let us not utilize ICE to be a really harsh way of dealing with the need for humane immigration reform, which is something this country has needed to be engaged with for a long time. And for too long, it is town councils and committees that are having to make decisions instead of the federal, at the federal level, making sane laws. And so I implore this body, people who have a reputation of working together across party lines, to be mature in your deliberations and not to use any tactics to slow down the progress towards a compassionate resolution that will make everyone in our community safe, documented and undocumented alike. This is not a place for that. Let us listen to the better angels of our natures and not listen to baseless fears. And I'll just give you an example. In the 19th century, people in this country were fearful of immigrants and Catholics because they swore allegiance to a foreign prince, the Pope.
Pastor Miller, you have 1 minute left.
That sounds ludicrous to the ears of someone in 2017. History will judge us in the future by how we learn to be compassionate about the newest immigrants to come to this land and to search for better lives for their families. Let us not fall prey to anti-Muslim or anti-immigrant sentiments. Let us rise above. Let us rise together so that my child and every child in this community is not fearful about whether their parents will be deported tomorrow. That is not a learning environment. It is not a safe environment. We are capable of so much more. I encourage you to pass this fair and welcoming resolution, which will not only benefit immigrants, but many others in this town, as we've heard enumerated already. And thank you for the steps that you've already taken.
Thank you, Pastor Miller. Young lady stood up first, and then in the back. Yes, you. You're here now.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Crone. I live at 44 Ridgedale Avenue, Unit 48. I've prepared remarks that will fit within the 5-minute time frame I've been given. I'm actually here with my spouse, Adolfo Bejarano Hernandez, who's been a business owner in Morristown for more than 10 years. He also has another business in Chatham. And my son attends the Children on the Green Child Care Center. But as an immigration attorney with American Friends Service Committee in Newark, I could take this 5 minutes to carefully lay out why a fair and welcoming policy is completely lawful, essential for safety in our community, and prevents racial profiling. But this has been done already in legal memos prepared by the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice and in several local op-eds by myself and others. The Trump administration is actually violating the law in its attempts to ban fair and welcoming policies and to ban Muslims and others from entering our country. The other reason I choose not to explain the law is because deep down the issue has nothing to do with law and order. It has everything to do with hate and fear, the fear of losing power and wealth, the hatred of people who are different and for that have been denied their humanity. Why is the Trump administration excluding people from being full citizens in the United States? For many years, leaders in this country have denied full citizenship and humanity to anyone who is not white, male, and Protestant. There is a very long history of oppression, and it continues to this day. Whatever the justification given to exclude people, it can only succeed by dehumanizing those who are to be excluded. The dehumanization of Native Americans, blacks, women, Chinese immigrants, Jews, Muslims, and many other groups has enabled governments and individuals to violate their basic human rights, not only through formal policies, but through private acts of exclusion, great harm, and even death. Why is this done? It's done to gain and maintain exclusive power and privilege, control over wealth. They have created a violent culture of white supremacy to maintain that power. The fact is, there is enough for everyone, but they fear they will also be treated inhumanely, even if they lose just some of their power. Power that was never theirs to begin with because they seized it from those who they deemed less than human. This is not the kind of community or country or world I want to live in. I want to live in a community where equity and inclusion forms part of every decision, part of every action, a community where all people, no matter their race, age, gender, ethnicity, religion, nationality, political opinion, and sexual orientation, are welcome, are treated with respect, and have a say in all matters impacting them. I remember what happened in Morristown 10 years ago when the mayor then announced that he wanted to deputize local police as immigration agents by signing a 287G agreement. To justify his actions, he had to criminalize immigrants, just like Trump is doing today. It was a catastrophe. People moved out of town, people hid inside their homes, many businesses suffered. Many people refused to speak to the police or seek services. Yet, it was beautiful to be a part of a task force that included all parts of the community, working together in response to that hate. And after conducting a study, the Morris County Sheriff decided that he would not participate in the 287G program. Knowing the havoc that it created, the current mayor has continued his promise not to implement that program. We have come a long way and must continue in the right direction, in the direction of a better world, one built on cooperation and love, not the hate, fear, and violence that will destroy humanity. Let's do more than fight against hate. Let's imagine and create the kind of world we want to live in, one where we are all treated with respect and dignity, where we are all free, where we can all grow to our fullest potential. Diversity is our strength. We become stronger, healthier, and more resilient when we work together. So I urge you to implement a fair and welcoming policy as one step in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Saw your hand up.
Actually, sir, I think you cut in front of that young lady that was in the back there.
Go up
But
here.
she's waiving her time. She's allowing you to proceed. So come on up and speak. Come on up, please.
No, you're up here. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good evening, council members. My name is Maria Vargas. I live at 58 Village Drive here in Morristown. I am a pastoral associate at St. Margaret Church, and I am also a member of Wind of the Spirit. So I do support the Fair and Welcoming Resolution, but I'm here for a different issue tonight. I am also a member of the Morrison United for Healthy Living Coalition. I don't know if you have, I think we have been here for a couple of meetings already. I'm here today because housing is a health issue in our community. Our coalition aims to address this issue by working to improve the condition of existing homes, increase access to affordable housing, and improve community infrastructure in Morristown Census Tract 435. We cannot do this work alone. We need the help of multiple stakeholders, including the Morristown Council members. To join our coalition, I firmly request that the Town Council allocate additional funding, resources, and political will to address this serious issue in our community. We cannot move forward as a community until all people in Morristown, regardless of age, ethnicity, income, or immigration status, has access to affordable, fair, equitable, healthy, safe housing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Vargas.
Good evening. My name is Brian Lozano. I live at 27 Guy Street, Dover, New Jersey. I work for Wind of the Spirit Immigrant Resource Center. So, I am grateful that the Fair and Welcoming Resolution is on the agenda tonight. The resolution marks the first step our community takes together to ensure that we protect all residents in our town. However, it is not enough to pass this symbolic document stating that you are with us. We need you to actively stand with us. I urge the mayor of Morristown and the chief of police to immediately follow this resolution if passed with an executive order and a police directive, pieces of the Fair and Welcoming Community Policy Packet. These two documents supplement the resolution and ensure the privacy of all individuals is maintained. They ensure that the town government and authorities refrain from profiling brown and black faces. They legally bind this town to the commitment of refraining from voluntary programs or agreements with Immigration Customs and Enforcement, ICE. The Department of Homeland Security is systematically detaining and deporting people in our community. If you don't believe me, I encourage you and all of you present to Google Operation Mega. It'll give you a glimpse into what I'm talking about. Some of you may believe that Immigration and Customs Enforcement is actually arresting thugs and gang members, yet New Jersey media reported in April that more than half of the deportations in New Jersey for the past 5 years are people with no criminal convictions. ICE is separating families, not keeping us safe from crime. Imagine, you are looking for safety, for refuge, escaping domestic violence, war, famine, poverty, looking for a better life for you and your family. Imagine what you would do. Your ancestors probably did it. Many of us in this room are doing it now. Imagine that you are then taken away from your family, although you have paid taxes and have no criminal convictions, even though you are in a country built by immigrants that promises asylum. Let that sink in. Now add to that fact that we have neo-Nazis right here in Morristown. I do not need to elaborate on their agenda. We need to take action now. We need to pass the Fair and Welcoming Community Policy Packet. My life story, and most of our stories, unless you're a Native American, is an immigrant story. My mother arrived to this country in 1981 and worked 3 maintenance jobs for many years. My mother, a small, thin, humble woman, carried a large vacuum cleaner in the middle of blizzards down South Street to clean several office buildings. She worked day after day, nonstop, at the senior citizen housing in front of the Morristown Hospital. My father, too, worked multiple jobs at once for many years at the old AT&T building by the headquarters plaza. I think about Morristown then, and I think about Morristown now. What has changed besides the name or function of the businesses? Can you imagine a Morristown without a Tops China, without Macho Nacho, without Rico Pan Bakery, without Guerriero's, or the Hyatt for that matter? Morristown is special because of our revolutionary American history and because of our immigrant history. Morristown's lure is also our business district, owned or run by immigrants. Since the colonial era, immigrants, like my parents, have been the nuts, bolts, and gears of this town. Still, no matter how much we contribute, immigrants are continuously demonized and scapegoated. Our community is blamed for stagnant wages and lack of job creation. The fact is that top 100 CEOs make 700% more than what they made in the 70s compared to their lowest paid employee. The fact is that immigrant small local business owners provide jobs for us all. Our immigrant community is blamed for mooching off the government. The fact is that undocumented immigrants cannot receive federal benefits. Even legal permanent residents are barred from public assistance for the first 5 years. The immigrant community is treated as a nuisance. They are talked about as a plague. And any demand to live and work with dignity is met with questions like, well, what about citizens? Right? These questions are based on the misconception that money invested in an immigrant child's education would be better spent on a native-born child, not realizing that immigrants also pay property and income taxes, and thus pay for the education of all children, regardless of immigration status. All these myths surrounding our community spur and feed hateful rhetoric and policies that terrorize our community. Anti-immigrant policies disguised as financial policies or calls for smaller schools or calls for law and order hurt our community, our entire community, US-born citizens and immigrants. Let us heal our community and move forward with every piece of the Fair and Welcoming Community Policy Packet. Let's do so on a timeline that protects our residents immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lozano. Anyone else wishing to address council? That hand went up first, and then
My name is Rosary Lesko here. I live in Morristown at 15 Carla Court.
Ma'am, would you state your last name again, please?
Lesko here, Lescohier. It's a tough one.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm here to express my support for the Fair and Welcoming resolution. And I have just a brief statement I would like to read. I'd also like to say that my husband and I moved to Morristown 20 years ago, selected it as our retirement town. And one of the big reasons was the diversity of Morristown. This is my statement. I commend the mayor's decision to put a resolution on the Morristown Council's agenda that calls for Morristown to become a fair and welcoming community. This is our opportunity to let Morristown be known as a welcoming and open place that embraces individuals of diverse racial, ethnic, religious, and national backgrounds, as well as different ages and sexual orientation. I understand that the resolution is only the first step for creating a safe space. I urge the Chief of Police and the Mayor to do everything within their power to create a secure environment for all residents of Morristown. I'm proud to be a resident of Morristown, a place where we follow the call to uphold the dignity of all persons and to work for the common good. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. And then that hand over there, and then the gentleman in the back.
Hello, Council. Good to see you again. My name is Ashley Anglin. Excuse me, my voice is a little crazy today, but I live at 138 Mount Campbell Avenue. My address is Morristown. I'm technically in Morris Township, but I work for Atlantic Health System at 475 South Street. I'm a member of the Morristown Unitarian Fellowship and a member of Morristown United for Healthy Living. And last week, that's what I spoke about in length, so I won't belabor that, but just mentioning again and keeping that reminder that also Maria Henia gave us, that housing is a health issue in our community. We have disparities just a block away when you talk about life expectancy at birth. I'd love to show you that data, not because it makes me happy, I'm just a data nerd, but because it really demonstrates that point very clearly. But I also want to say that my role in that coalition on a personal level is because I want to have a community that is united. I want to have a community where I can be proud to be with my neighbors, to stand up like I feel today with all of this overwhelming support for the Fair and Welcoming Communities resolution. I'm also saying that as a community psychologist. My background, my PhD is in community and cultural psychology. And when we look at the evidence for even just perceived discrimination, we see significant measurable impacts on health and well-being. I would also be happy to share that data too. But what really it boils down to is when you live in a community where you don't feel supported, where there's people around you actively discriminating against you, or even the kind of the message that we give at a high level like this from a town council, knowing whether or not you're being supported and where you belong in your community actually impacts your health, and especially for young people. So that feeling that you don't belong, the feeling that you're not safe, affects your health, your physical health. It affects your emotional well-being, and we see increased rates of suicidality. We see increased rates of different chronic health conditions, especially prolonged stress that leads to things like abdominal problems, mental health issues, and increased hospitalization. Basically, you're literally building an unhealthy community when you give the message that you don't support your neighbors, and then we have people living in fear. And so I know that's a whole mouthful, but really it boils down to this community should be a community united. There's a lot of people here that are taking that work every day, that are volunteering their time, that are here tonight after working jobs, that are here tonight after putting their kids to bed or saying goodbye, and they're doing it because we care about each other. And the messages that come from the top matter. People are waiting and listening to see what you say, and they're waiting to see if this is a place where they're supposed to be. And I really, really hope that you make that decision and are on the right side of history to say that this is a place where you believe belong. It's a place for anybody, and it's a place where your neighbors will support you. So I encourage you to please vote in favor of the Fair and Welcoming Communities resolution tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes. And then the gentleman that was in the back.
Thank you. I'm Joan Bells. I live at 30 Erskine Drive in Morristown, and I appreciate the fact that you are going to consider the Fair and Welcoming resolution tonight. Morristown is known as a progressive community. It's a place that's attractive to live in the New York metropolitan area. From way back in 1971, when the State Commissioner of Education, Carl Marburger, created a plan to integrate our schools, Morristown has been known for its diversity, and you and your predecessors have accommodated a changing, growing, mixed population, I think to the betterment of our town. So I urge you to stand behind your immigrant population and continue to be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Henry Lopez, 14 Speedwell Place, Morristown. First of all, I want to thank you everyone for considering the resolution, and I hope you voted. First of all, because I'm an immigrant, and I live in Morristown for probably about 16 years now, and I've been going to school, paying my taxes, and Morristown is my town. And I would love it to be as welcoming as it was when I came here. I found different groups, organizations, church. I'm a member of the Presbyterian Church, and it has welcomed me since I joined probably 8-10 years ago. So please consider a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Anyone else wishing to address council? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, good evening. My name's Cecilia Hale. I live at 13A Dorado Drive in Morristown.
13, your address?
13A Dorado Drive.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'd like to take a minute of your time so I can introduce myself. I've made an application for the town council appointment to the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners in Morristown. My application is on file in the office, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about why I'm interested in doing this. I've been a resident of Morristown as a renter and an owner for about 21 years now. It's more than long enough that I try to do something for the town. My interest in being on the housing, I have two interests actually for being on the Housing Authority. One is to ensure that the housing set-asides that are part of the big building boom in Morristown are being used as they need to be used, and really to serve the constituents of the Housing Authority. That's important to me also. I don't know what else I can say really, except I understand there are qualifications and training needed for the position. I'm committed to doing the training at the earliest, the fastest I can do it, and I'd appreciate your support, or at least your consideration of my application. And I was surprised to see how many applicants there were. That's a very good thing for you. A good pool is very important, but I at least wanted to come and introduce myself, and I'm at your service as far as a phone call, a meeting. I'd be happy to give you more detail about why I'm interested. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hale. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Rosella Clyde, 33 Carmine Street, Chatham, New Jersey. But I do have an office here in Morristown. I'm not going to belabor the point. So many people have given you all wonderful reasons why the passing of a fair and welcoming resolution is important for the residents of Morristown. I'd like to say that it's also important for the residents of Morris County, because having the courage to take the step to put on record the fact that Morristown is, in fact, the fair and welcoming community enables other people who are thinking about this in other municipalities to step forward and have and give voice to the same thing. So Morristown has been a leader within Morris County in culture and in so many other ways. This gives you an opportunity also to stand up against fear, against hatred, in favor of humanity. And I applaud the introduction of this resolution, and I certainly urge you to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clyde. Mr. Burns.
You know, it's amazing, that we talk about the different cultures, but I hear this, not just here, but I hear it up in Washington. They name every other culture, but people with disabilities are being left out because people with disabilities are part of this community too. So when you guys are hurting, people with disabilities are hurting. So please, when you're talking about cultures, and you're talking about African Americans, please include people with disabilities, because we live in this community too. We vote, we pay taxes. Some of us hold down full-time jobs. So please, when you're talking about the community, don't just talk about the different cultures. Talk about people with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Anyone else wishing to address council at this time? Seeing no one, declare the public hearing of citizens closed at 8:29 p.m. Comments from council members regarding public hearing questions or comments?
I have 3 questions arising out of the public portion. Should I save them for when we deliberate?
I'd be interested in moving that up after the mayor's whatever he does. After the mayor's talk, first order of business, let's address this so all the members of the public can be part of that conversation. So if you have a question or comment about the fair and welcoming, let's save it for that discussion.
All right. You want me to just go through my?
Sure.
Okay.
Unless if the council is.
It's up to the council.
Any other comments?
I just want to say this before.
We'll do that during the calendar of events. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll keep my comments for the resolution to after you're done your comments, but I'll go through the mayor's event listing. Wednesday, on the 13th of September, we had a very interesting guest come to our green, a direct descendant of Jacob Arnold. For those who don't know who Jacob Arnold was, he had Arnold's Tavern, where George Washington used to frequent often, I'm sure with his officers, for a cold pint back in the day. But I didn't know, and I'm hoping that you all don't know, so I can give you something new. Do you know where he's buried? Right behind the church, right on the green, right behind the church.
The Presbyterian Church.
Yeah, I did not know that. Marge probably knew that. Yeah, she knew it.
You know that it's still there.
But it's still there, and the family traced the roots all the way back. And she's a fiddle player. She's 11 years old. She was incredible. She played for Charlie Daniels down in South. She opens up big festivals. She has the Rosenbow that was given to her by Charlie Daniels, although you don't know who Charlie Daniels is. I'm sure you do. Those of my age do anyway. So it was an incredible event for her and her family to come up here and spend some time. She went to the Ford Mansion. She came to Town Hall. We gave them some parting gifts, and it was just great that their family was able to trace their roots back to here. So it was really quite interesting, and they had a lot of memorabilia. They still have the 1,000 acres farm that was given to them back in the late 1700s, early 1800s, when land grants were given, and they were given quite a few thousand acres in Kentucky, and the family still has a relative on that land from all these generations. So it's a pretty interesting story. I want to thank everybody that was involved in the second annual Morris County Recovery Walk. My wife and I walked that from Ginty Field to Granby Park. A lot of people were in attendance, council members, Sheba Foster, Hillary, you went to that one? Missed that one. It was well attended, and there's a lot of people in this town that are on the mend. We all know that opiate and alcoholism and the opiate problems we have is rampant, not just here in Morristown, but throughout the nation. And so there was a lot of experience, strength, and hope shared to people who are just recovering from drugs and alcohol in the very early days, so it was a really good thing. They also had the 15th Annual Community Family Day in the Morristown Neighborhood House at Caldwell Park. That was a great success. Everybody was in attendance from the council, not everybody from the council, but those from the council came. It was well attended. I want to thank, Kristen Ace, where is she? Right there. I want to thank the Shade Tree Commission. On the 18th, they held a resident information session on the emerald ash borer. If you don't know what that is, you should go to this website and contact the Shade Tree Commission if you have some concerns. There's a very serious emerald ash. It's a beetle that will make that tree very brittle and very dangerous. And they're wiping out the ash trees all over, especially the East Coast right now in the Northeast. So we have several in Morristown. The county has several thousand. So we have to be aware of that. So contact the Shade Tree Commission, and you'll get enlightened on what the emerald ash borer is. There was a ribbon cutting held on the 19th, another men's salon next to Starbucks. They did offer me a shave. I said no. So we'll shave it soon, but I said no. But we wish them good luck. It's a very nice salon right next to Starbucks. On the 23rd, a gentleman from Speedwell Place that spoke. Do you all know the Amico station? So council members were there. Sheba Foster. Stefan, did you make it? Yeah, you were there. They have turned that Amico station into a very viable business. And I didn't realize how big that was and how many people they serve. So we wish them continued success. We had a grand opening, new owner, and they really got it together. Those who spent the day Sunday at our fall festival, it was hot. The music was hot. The salsa was hot. For our Latino friends that are in the audience, the music was. It took on many different forms, from rock and roll to swing to salsa. It was really well done by the partnership, and we glad we can partner with them and all the council members that were there. Our councilwoman had a tent with the Mardog, and it was very well attended and very hot. And I didn't hear any disaster fainting stories, so we're glad that everybody stayed hydrated. And Councilman Diana Cohen was there. A few people walked for a few hours, then got out of there because it was very hot. But we want to thank all those that came from out of town and got to see what we have to offer as a community. I did a quote in the paper. I can't remember exactly what the words I said, but one of the great assets of having our fall festival, it really showcases our downtown. It really showcases the businesses, our civic organizations, everything we have to offer, and I think people really enjoy coming to that every year. We have thousands of people in our downtown that day, and we're glad that it went off well. I want to thank the police department for their presence, and I want to thank DPW for the hard work they do, keeping the constant changing of the garbage and doing the best they can to keep up with the crowds of 25,000 plus. So it's a great day. Upcoming events. We have a very interesting meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow, Mount Vernon, New York municipal officials will be here talking to us about how Morristown has become so successful. I think that's a testament not just to this administration, but to the council and to the many organizations, our planning board, zoning board, and the many organizations of the town, the partnership. And I don't want to leave anybody out, but what makes a community click and how one becomes engaged and how a town moves forward. So we're really looking forward to the municipal officials from Mount Vernon, New York coming here to seek advice on strategy and leadership. And I think that's a testament to where this town is and where it came from. On the 8th of October, I think I'm not trying to steal any thunder, so I'm stealing any thunder, Councilwoman, is it a doggy dash?
Yeah, I'm going to talk.
You take care of the doggy dash. I'll leave that alone. But I'll end with, because there's probably more we can discuss afterwards, but I'll end with those who know Wilma Lara. She's in our clerk's office, been here for quite a few years. She is retiring. Her last day is this Friday. You can see the clerk for retirement party details if you want to come to the party. She's been a great asset to our municipal government, a great asset to the town of Morristown, a personal friend. And we will miss her dearly. We wish her great success in her retirement, happy trails, as they would say, where she's heading. And We're going to make sure we say goodbye to her the right way on the 29th. And just remind everybody, on October 9th, for Columbus Day, the town hall is closed. Before we go into the next discussion, I think you all saw these in your packet. So it's the time to mourn. So if you look at the Foster family home, it's kind of like a kind of haunted experience going on there. That's going to take place through October 25th through the 27th, and Sunday, October 29th, 1 to 2 p.m. at Foster Living Historical Farm. And there's a cost of 6 per adult, 5 per senior, 4 per child, and 2 per child, the ages 2 and 3. This is another thing that I think people might find to be interesting, and I'm glad it is put in there. It's put in by the Great Swamp. Saturday, October 7th, from 12 to 4, it's a Lenape Day, featuring the Ramapo Lenape people. Traditional drum circles, dance performances, food is available for purchase. And if you've never gone to any of these events like this to learn about history of a nation, of Lenape, I've had the pleasure and the fortunate experience to live out west for a while, and got to see some reservations and got to see some real Indian culture with the Navajos. And it is really an experience that people, you will really treasure. So mark it on your calendar. It's Saturday, October 7th. It's something to do with your family. And you can see the clerk will have this information. Maybe we'll put it on the website also.
Yes, sir.
So you can get directions. It's the Great Swamp Outdoor Education Center on 247 Southern Boulevard, Chatham Township. So it's really, Rosella, it's just right down the street. And I think it's something you could take the family to and have a lot of fun. And it's all yours, Council President.
Council liaison reports.
Parking Authority did meet on the 19th of September. One of the ongoing conversations at the Parking Authority is actually the accuracy of the information which is presented to both the Planning Board and Board of Adjustment on the availability of parking which is being dedicated to specific development projects. I think that discussion is an ongoing discussion, and I think the Planning Board and the Board of Adjustment are working with the Parking Authority to make sure that the information is accurate and the source is reliable. All too often, the information is coming from people other than the Parking Authority to those boards, and those representations could be questionable. The only other thing to really report is every month they report a very strong financial, and they make it easy for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, calendar of events.
Everyone's looking at me, okay. September is Responsible Dog Ownership Month, and 10 years ago, before I got into politics and governing, I came before this council and we were graced with a proclamation acknowledging Mardog, doing RDO days. So I think we've done several of them in the past 10 years. 2002 we were founded, so 15 years. So this is my nonprofit organization. I'd like to take a moment to do a public service announcement to educate all of you here about guide dogs at work and how to keep guide dog teams safe. Basically, this is a public service announcement. It is from a group called, if you can pass those down, guidedogatwork.org. Guide dogs work to help people who are blind safely navigate the world. It is crucial that pet owners with regular pet dogs keep their dogs at a safe distance away from a guide dog team. I might also add that if you see a seeing eye puppy with a vest, and it denotes that he has a vest on, he is being trained or being worked. So you should always ask if you could pet the seeing eye puppy. Those vests are green, they're bright green. However, these are working dogs, so I do want to delineate and stress the difference. While it may seem harmless for pets to visit with a guide dog at work, that dog is responsible for leading someone who is blind, who cannot see. Please follow these tips to help keep guide dog teams safe. My mother was blind, so I take this cause very seriously and personally. for the pastor out there that talked about personal connections. Please follow these tips. Keep your pet dog away from guide dogs that are working. Let the blind person know you are there and have a dog with you. It's very simple to say. You could say, "Hi, I'm here with my dog, Rover. We're off on your right." That's all you have to say. Remember, they can't see you. And don't let someone walk your dog that is unable to control it. Now we have lots of dog walkers, people work, dual income families. It's important that you let them know. So we have these handouts. Please pass them around for the members of the public that are here. We do have the Seeing Eye, a local institution here in town, and they train on our streets. So it's real important that for Responsible Dog Ownership Month, we acknowledge that. And last but not least, and thank you, Mayor, for letting me announce this, this is an annual fundraiser. I think it's in its 4th or 5th year for the Seeing Eye. It's in our town. I'll hold it up for the camera if you want to zoom in. It is called the Doggy Dash. It's a dog walk. It's people and pet friendly. It's Sunday, October 8th, rain or shine. It's in Lidgerwood Park. It's fun for the whole family. This year they've extended it to do a USATF sanctioned 5K run, and it's going through public streets of Morristown and Morris Township. So if you're interested, you get a free t-shirt for all 5K or walk pre-registrants. If you register, I think the deadline is, well, it just says pre-registrants. So you get a free t-shirt for all 5K or walk pre-registrants. You can register online at runsignup.com/seeingeye. And if you have more information, you can contact the events at theseeingeye.org, 973-539-4425. It's the Seeing Eye Doggy Dash and 5K. It's Sunday, October 8th, 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And my request to the administration would be if we could just alert the residents that those streets, could we please put that in Nixle, that those streets will be closed or...
Is that approved by the council, that race?
Yeah, we approved.
Was it?
We approved it. So would there be an alert that would go out?
We'll let the police chief, we'll let police know. Police chief will inform his people on making sure that the roads are clear, everything's good.
And last but not least, for those of you who have been trying to get to the Lewis Morris Dog Park, it's been temporarily closed because dogs were chewing on the fence and they bit a hole in the fence and the fence had to get repaired. So the park commissioner advises that he has signed off on a replacement fencing for the dog park. Once the fencing contractor provides timing for the installation and completion of the fencing, the park commissioner promised to share that timing. Right now, they're getting fencing estimates. So it is a rule at dog parks to have no digging, but we can't always enforce that rule with dogs.
Mr. Clerk, could you pull the paperwork on this approval? Because our business administrator is not remembering this being approved.
Okay. It did, and it was a route that was actually away from town. Maybe that you don't recognize it. It's down by Lidgerwood. Comes up James a little bit, but go ahead.
I don't remember seeing.
It's not being closed off.
Okay.
It's not going to be nearly as big as
Okay.
these other runs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bookmarkers.
So that may be why it's not popping up.
Right. Okay, we'll look into it.
It's not as huge an event.
Could you pull it and send it up so we can get it to the police?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Please take these.
It's, Council President? Yes. There was one other thing. Even though we'll have another meeting before this, people should put it on their calendar that the Halloween parade is going to be the 28th of October. That's a Saturday at 10 a.m. at Lidgerwood Park. All attendees are invited to dress up. Beej? Yeah, comes the Denver Bronco? Oh, I had to say that. Sorry.
Any other events? Members of council, I did provide you with a list of upcoming events, many that the mayor mentioned. Are there any other events that council members wish to bring to their colleagues or the assembly's attention?
There's one
Councilmember
more
Dean.
event on October 7th, Saturday, and that's the Fall Foots Frolic. And it's just from 12 to 2. I didn't realize we were competing with such a big event, but we will be playing Watershed Jeopardy, and it's a very fun game for kids and adults. And there'll be a naturalist there from the Great Swamp to lead a hike. So that's 2 to 4, I think. Yeah, 2 to 4. And there is a flyer already posted on the website, on the town website. So thank you very much for that.
Okay, I'd like to mention that CARES, which is a recovery education program, they will be in Manahan Village on September 28th between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. Giving coaching on Narcan training. They're also giving out Narcan kits. I'm ashamed to say I don't really know a whole lot about it, but my understanding is that it kind of helps people who overdose on drugs to, recover, and they have programs that help them get into rehabilitation. If that happens here in our town and they get to our hospital, they have lots of resources to help people get off drugs. I know our mayor has been very supportive of Alton Robinson, who's from here, and he works with CARES, and I also support the program. And if you want to attend, or if you know anyone who wants to attend, you can call 973-625-1143 at extension 23, or you can go to www.caresnj.org.
Mayor, didn't you get the
Yeah, so I wasn't going to go into this, but it's an important issue that the community should be focused on and should be aware of. I was trained on Narcan at the Recovery Walk Day, certified. I know a little bit about it. Narcan works on opiates. Like if you OD from cocaine, it will not bring you back, but it will bring you back from what seems to be the killer out there, which is heroin laced with fentanyl. It's a very deadly combination. Fentanyl is having people OD every day, not just here, all over the state. The business administrator and myself attended a breakfast in Rockaway where we awarded the CARES program a check for $2,500 based on the work they've done. In 1 year, I believe they have gotten up to 500 people in beds for recovery into rehabs. There's a lot of organizations that are involved in this movement. We heard stories of parents that lost their children. This is not something that, this is suburbs, this is your next door neighbor. I was in court. I wasn't going to go into this, but I was in court. Sometimes I come and sit in court to see how things go with our community, because most people don't know. But it was very interesting because I was here the other night, and it was a number of different cases. But there was and I'm not going to out her, but there was a young woman who was in a county lockup, and she had overdosed 3 times. And she's only 32 years old. And Narcan brought her back 3 times. And she didn't start doing drugs till she was 27. And she's now 32. So there's no real stigma to an age or to a number of children. It's widespread. It does not discriminate. And it's cheap. So you can probably, I don't know, I'll probably be wrong with this, but you probably pick up, maybe the chief will know, a bag of heroin for $5. I don't know, but it's cheap, and it's cut with some really bad stuff, and that's what's, people are overdosing every day. So, if you see organizations you want to volunteer, you want to donate, CARES program seems to be having some success. We support them. He's a local guy, Alton Robinson. He's done great work. He's got a great story. And we want to remember to thank him. You know, we should have him come in here and do a presentation because we'd love to have a CARES office open up somewhere in Morristown. It really does save lives, and I'm grateful that I took the time to get trained. The sheriff was there that day, Sheriff Gannon, and he's the one who pushed me over to get trained in it. So I'm going to thank him. But it's a big, you know, don't read about it. Don't turn your heads to it. It's an epidemic in this country. I mean, I'm not a Christie guy, but he's right on that issue when it comes to opiate, and it's a terrible thing that's going on in this country. I mean, if you watch CNN, I think it was CNN the other night, they had the debate on health care. They had a New Hampshire woman come up who was a recovering heroin addict. There's some stories out there. So keep people in your prayers. Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'd like to
Move the agenda.
move the agenda, change the rules to move up our resolution R-150 2017 to the first order of business, please.
Okay, it has been properly moved and by Council President Armington, seconded by Councilmember Deeb, that the rules be suspended to allow Resolution R-150 2017 to be moved up. Any questions on the motion to suspend? Seeing none. Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms. Mr. Elms. Oh,
Yes.
thank
Hey,
you.
he's there.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris is absent. Mr. Iannacone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 6 yeas, 1 absent, and that motion carries. We move on now to Resolution R-150, 2017, a resolution designating the town of Morristown a fair and welcome community. Council members, what is your pleasure?
I'll move it for adoption.
It has been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster. Any questions or comments from council on the motion?
Yeah, I'll just start off. I'm very much in support of this resolution. I think we went a long way at the last couple of meetings with the passing the community ID, resident ID program, and to many of the people's the comments expressed today, this is the first step. You know, the resolution specifically calls out the town of Morristown Council working with the mayor and the administration to develop strong anti-discriminatory policies and other elements. To Mr. Burns' comments, it does, you know, specifically identify creating policies of anti-discrimination against people with disabilities. So we got your back, Billy. And I'm in favor of this. So.
Thank you, Council President. Councilmember Deeb.
I just have a couple of questions. The second whereas clause, but first I'd like to thank the members of the public that came out tonight and spoke very eloquently about and passionately about our great town. And I won't try to replicate or imitate some of the eloquence that I heard tonight from some of you, but clearly there's a lot of support for this. I also want to echo the police chief's comments at the February meeting that said we already are fair and welcoming, and that people should have no fear. But just because someone says something that someone should have something doesn't mean that that exists. Nevertheless, I did have some questions and comments on the second whereas clause. The third whereas clause where it says local enforcement of immigration law makes everyone less safe. Could we change that to reduces the risks of public safety? I just have a problem with broad-reaching clauses like makes everyone less safe. So if that is all right with the legal legality there. I would like that to be changed. The other question I had was in the now therefore be it further resolved that, and that's in the second to last, therefore be it further resolved clauses. Morristown Town Council is committed to publicly and vigorously opposing any government registry based on religion or national origin. So where I had a disconnect in my mind was, because I voted for it, was the municipal ID. And as part of the proof of identity for the 4 points, we specifically, for the 3-point documents and the 2-point documents, we ask for this information. We specifically state foreign passport, foreign driver's license, prisoner ID card, foreign birth certificate, foreign. So my question is what exactly is the purpose of that clause, and could we just delete that clause? So those were the only comments I had. Other than that, I applaud the administration for taking this on. We did consider it in February at the February 14th meeting. So it's I think, a step in the right direction, and hopefully a piece of paper won't need to continue the work that we have been doing.
I'll address the first, I'll let the counselor address the second one. On the whereas with the local enforcement of immigration law makes everyone less safe. So the theory behind that is if your local police are enforcing immigration law, then most witnesses and victims are going to be afraid to come forward. And it's that clear and simple. So I would prefer that language to stay in.
As far as the second issue that you raised, Councilwoman, what it's saying is that the town of Morristown is opposing any type of list solely based on a specific religion or national origin. So that the municipal ID that you're talking about, we're not keeping a list solely based on someone's religion or national origin. So that's what I think there may be some misunderstanding on your part on that.
Okay, so it says opposing any government registry. So this is not considered a registry that we're
But you have to read the
issuing
whole
an
sentence.
ID?
You have to read the whole sentence.
I did read the whole resolution.
Any government registry based on religion or national origin. So we're not maintaining a registry that's simply based on religion or national origin.
I think it's interpretational. I think that if you look at the documentation here, because the implication is that the town's going to have an ID and it has to match up. So that, okay, you're looking at me quizzically, so I have an ID and then I use this ID. If someone has to verify this ID, they're going to go to the town. How the town has to verify that this person exists.
Okay.
That's a registry in my mind. That's a list. That's a database. If not, correct me if I'm wrong, but I support this. I'm just looking at it from a legal perspective. And
If I may, correct me if I'm wrong. As part of the municipal ID, it explicitly notes that the information used to process or acknowledge, residential, basically the data on the person is eliminated, essentially. It's used to generate the IDs, and then that information is removed. And so the municipal ID does not do anything more than a driver's license program, essentially. It's just.
But how is it verified then?
Once you have the ID, that's your verification.
That's verification.
There's no subsequent follow-up to verification.
That's correct. The documentation that's provided as proof of identity and proof of residency is not retained by the municipality. It's returned to the applicant once the application process is completed.
Then help me understand how it's validated. If someone's going to check it, how is that validated?
How is the documentation validated?
I would imagine it's similar to that of the county IDs, no?
So I have a driver's license, that's the
Sure.
analogy you used, and if I'm committing a felony or, God forbid, my driver's license would be looked up. That's, to me, in my mind, a registry. It's a database. That's
Right, but the disconnect
I
here.
understand what you're saying, but
Okay,
I
so-
just want to make sure that we're not disconnecting ourselves from what we passed.
No.
Okay.
So when you go to get your driver's license, that is a government registry.
Database.
But it's not based on your religion or national origin. So what this is opposing is creating a registry that is
Okay.
simply based on someone's religion or national origin.
Okay, I see the semantics, and I understand what you're saying, but the proof of identity is using origin and place of origin, so it's just a
But it's a
little-
registry of driver's licenses, or it's a registry of
Again, this is
municipal
a
IDs?
governing body that is supposed to be legislative, so I'm trying to look at the legislation here and be objective and discerning.
I think
and
as
that's-
an
If you're
example.
telling me it's fine, it's fine. I'm just looking at it from our perspective as a governing body and a legislative arm, so,
Actually, Allison, I'm comfortable with the language. It's really, I disagree. I don't think a driver's license or a municipal ID is a registry per se. That is just like a birth certificate is a public record. What a registry they're referring to here is a specific registry that is being created based on race, religion, what have you, and that's what you're prohibiting. What you're prohibiting is not supporting people saying everybody who's from Iceland has to register with the government. Okay, it reeks of problems that, no one wants. So that is what a registry is. A municipal ID, a driver's license, it's not a registry. It's
Okay.
not a registry, and I'm very comfortable with the language
Okay.
as it's drafted.
thank you.
I'd like to add too, just for the sake of the public, that you don't want to deter people who need these IDs from coming in by confusing them with this language of registry. Because, I mean, to me, that's a little bit scary. I mean, if you need ID and you're not legal, I think it gives them dignity to have the ID. So it's kind of like against the reason why we decided
That's
to
why
give
I
these
brought it
people.
up.
I mean,
was my
everyone.
point.
I know, but everyone gave you the opportunity to talk. Now it's my turn. All I'm saying is that you are sending the wrong message to the layman.
No, don't manipulate what I
You
just said,
are sending the
Councilwoman.
wrong message to the layman
manipulating
who
what I
doesn't
just said.
understand your language.
No,
There is
you're
no
manipulating.
database. There is no database keeping record
didn't read the
of
resolution
these
probably.
people's identity when they come to get these identifications, and that's important information that the public should know.
Don't twist
And
what
I'm
I
done.
said.
Thank you.
Please don't twist what I said.
Let's-
I
let's
read the
talk- let's-
resolution.
council
I
members-
wanted
council
the
members,
council
let's-
attorney to clarify, because I, in my mind, had a disconnect. So don't
just move on,
accuse me
please.
of manipulating somebody.
Let's move on, please.
That's an insult.
Any other questions or
I
comments?
actually have two questions for the request.
ahead,
Just, actually, it's interesting, that came from the public, two questions, and you don't have to answer it tonight, you can bring it back after we move on to the resolution. One which I found interesting came from Ms. Yu with reference to children in schools. Morris Township, for example, specifically did not move on a similar resolution. Is there any questions in terms of enforceability with the school district on this, i.e. as it applies to the school since it's a shared school district?
No, I think I can answer this very briefly. And I don't want to be stepping on the toes of the school board. However, if the school board or the school is questioning someone's address, because there probably is in every school district in this state and in this nation, maybe some people go out of district and they go into schools that they're not supposed to be in, and they should be in another school district, and they're in our district or someone else's district. The municipal ID, and I think the township could pick up on this, the municipal ID is your proof, because you've been vetted that your address and you live in Morristown, and they should be educated here in our school system. I think it's a tool that the school could actually use to their benefit. If some, I mean, it's just, we're not in the business. I mean, they should verify. I mean, I'm sure the schools verify your address. That's part of their job. You're not going to just have anybody who wants to come to a school district come in without verifying you live in the school district. So I think, I haven't spoken to the superintendent about it. We had an internal discussion about it, and I think this can benefit the school district.
But I do think it's worth talking to the school district about it,
Absolutely. We've had,
It is the concept.
yes, we've had the internal,
Better in education.
yes, we had the internal meeting when we brought this up about a couple of weeks ago, and that is on our agenda.
And actually, the second question that I have, and again, it can be answered at a future time, is actually with reference to something that Reverend Perez said as it relates to federal funding for public housing. I do know that we do receive funds for public housing here in the city. Is there anything that we need to be concerned about as this resolution relates to public housing? Is there any carve-out because of funding, because of these units, because of federal funding?
No.
No, okay.
The federal funding for public housing is entirely separate from the municipality as far as the governance and who receives and manages the funding. There's no challenge or concern that will be lost.
And they don't have any jurisdiction over the policing of that housing either, I would imagine, correct? The federal government, any carve-outs on enforcements? I.e., because it's federally funded, they have rights that they would have extra as opposed to in other areas of town?
No.
No, okay. My third thing is just a request. Brian from Wind of the Spirit referred to a fair and welcoming community policy package. If we can get a copy of that in our next package next week, we did not get a copy of that in our package.
But along the questions about
It
the
was shared in
housing,
February, too.
at the meeting in February, it was brought up that we would stand to lose a few $1,000s in federal funding. Is that true?
I don't believe the federal government has taken any money from any city in whether they're declared sanctuary or fair and welcoming, or just like Philadelphia did, Second Amendment city. You want to talk to it?
Well, there are pending litigation, but that has not been resolved, and there's a lot of litigation out there that the federal government cannot take away funding simply based on a policy of a municipal government on whether it's fair and welcoming, quote-unquote sanctuary city, things of that nature. So the constitutionality is being litigated right now.
Any other questions or comments from members of council?
Call the question.
Seeing none, on the motion to adopt, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris is absent. Mr. Iannicone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 6 yeas, 1 absent. Motion carries.
Before the public, I'll make a statement. Before you all leave, I want to thank a couple of people really quickly. Brian, thank you very much for the hard work that you do for our immigrant community, but I want to thank the Clergy Council for all the hard work they did within their own communities, within their own parishes. It was a really great to watch a town come together with, from the Catholic Church to the Presbyterian to the, where's my Church of Redeemer? There she is, who is a leader. Cynthia, you do great work in our town, and I applaud all of you for what you have accomplished by staying strong and forward on this issue. And I'd like to read this into the record, and then that'll be it for that until we, I guess, get the next package from Brian. Morristown is proud to serve as a home to a diverse community of people, including a multicultural immigrant population. These residents contribute to making our town an amazing place to live and work. As the mayor of Morristown, I am proud that my administration has worked so tirelessly to ensure our town offers a welcoming environment to all people. As a community, I believe that we have an obligation to actively encourage a fair and welcoming atmosphere in Morristown. With this in mind, I am proud that we are officially designating Morristown a fair and welcoming community, and I look forward to working with residents and leaders in Morristown to craft policies that uniquely reflect our community. On that note, thank you, Council, for your support, and thank you for supporting the residents of Morristown. done. Next.
All right, thank you, everyone. Moving on to, we're going to go back to ordinances for introduction. Council members, this evening we have two ordinances for introduction. Ordinance 024, 2017, an ordinance providing for certain capital improvements at the Morristown Municipal Airport by the town of Morristown. You want me to wait?
Could we just give us a few
Okay.
minutes?
All right, I will,
It's hard to hear.
give it a couple of minutes just for people to, because of the noise and the sound. I was keeping. No, I was keeping track, and I was telling them when they had 1 minute left. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Ordinance 024 of 2017, which is on the agenda for introduction this evening. An ordinance providing for certain capital improvements at the Morristown Municipal Airport by the town of Morristown in the county of Morris, state of New Jersey, and appropriating $1,151,886, therefore to finance part of the cost thereof. Council members, what is your pleasure?
I'll move it.
Second.
It has been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster, and I believe Council Member Davis. Thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? If none, on the motion to introduce, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris is absent. Mr. Iannacone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 6 yeas, 1 absent. Ladies and gentlemen, the public hearing for ordinance 024, 2017 shall be the regular town council meeting scheduled for Tuesday, October 10th, 2017, beginning at 7:30 p.m.
Can you close the door, or can someone close the door?
Chief Flanagan, would you, oh, thanks, Chief. Chief D. Chief D, thank you. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, ordinance 025, 2017. That is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 17, Protection of Trees.
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster and Council Member Deeb. Any questions or comments on the motion?
I have a couple questions since we have the chair of the Shade Tree Commission here. Kristen, could you approach and maybe just enlighten us? And then I'd also like a report, as you are a appointed municipal official, on the Shade Tree Commission meeting, because I wasn't able to attend that.
I'm sorry, Allison, can you repeat that?
We're about to consider an ordinance on protecting of trees, and I thought maybe you might want to enlighten us as to your thoughts on this and the impetus of why it was introduced now, and is it in connection with the emerald ash borer or not? And is it being introduced by the Shade Tree Commission, or?
It is. This is an ordinance that we've been wanting to pass for the 4 years that we've been established. But we needed a lot of work to do. We had other things on our plate. And this year I had the opportunity and time to sit with the administration and with Anthony DeVizio of engineering and to go over the fact that our current protection of tree ordinance is grossly lacking in helping our trees during construction. And it's outdated and old. So we took some ordinances from other towns and we worked with administration and engineering to refine what we already have and give better protection to the trees when we have construction going on, when we have road work going on, when we have side work going on.
And this is just town trees in rights of way?
Well, it's town trees and rights of way. It would be a town tree if they were doing building a whole conglomerate on town property. It's only about town trees.
Okay.
Anything to do with the town. We don't have any jurisdiction in the private sector.
Okay. And then I just was curious, because I was not able to attend your Shade Tree Commission meeting, and I had wanted to attend, but I was not able to that evening. Something came up with my family, but I was just curious, how did it go? Did you have a lot of members of the public there?
No, for the Emerald Ash Borer, unfortunately, no. We only had like 10 people, which was disappointing, because I think people don't realize
How bad this
that
is.
while we only have probably 290 ash trees in Morristown public right-of-way, and that's on our streets and in our parks, people have ash trees all over in their yards. So while we're going to take care of our ash trees and do right by the public, we wanted the public to know what was coming and what's available to help them, and just be educated. But we only had about 10 people.
So 290 ash trees in town, are those town trees, or is that a total inventory of all
That's a total inventory of street trees.
Street trees.
And in our parks.
Okay, not private trees that
Exactly,
people could have
because
in
again,
their
we have no
backyard.
purview. The information session we were doing was a courtesy to let our residents know this is coming.
Okay, because I know in the Whippany River watershed, which stretches a dozen towns in Morris County, they're saying that the tree canopy is going to be reduced from 9 to 11%, which is huge.
Yep.
Because what
It's
that's
huge.
going to do is then create more dissolved oxygen in the water, and then more issues with clean water. So
That's correct.
that's that group. That's not the town, and that's not all 35 or 36 municipalities in the county. So it's...
Well, I think you can thank yourselves as a council that you have a Shade Tree Commission who is proactive, so that we are working diligently to have our ash tree population replaced before what you're talking about actually happens.
Right. I guess my interest and concern at this point is, with only 10 people attending the meeting and knowing that we have 19,000 residents.
Yes.
Maybe perhaps we could do more outreach, and on the website, just have some kind of notice, what an ash tree looks like. And the
What
kind
we're
of
doing-
bark and the beetle. or
Well, we
maybe
have,
just-
we have been doing outreach actually for probably about 2 years now.
Okay.
So right now, we've sent out information over the network of all of us on the commission who have neighborhood sites. The town puts up information all the time on that borer, what it looks like, what to look for.
Because I still think people don't know about it.
I know they don't.
Can we just limit the
Yeah,
discussion to
sorry, okay.
the ordinance, and
Well, that's all the
encourage you
questions I
to
have.
Oh, okay.
reach out to.
Perfect.
Thank you for the
Thank
good
you.
work.
Yep, thank you.
I have a comment. I think the ordinance is a definite improvement over what we have, and I applaud the forestry knowledge and best practices that the engineering department and the public works are. I do notice that there is an exemption for public works, which I can sort of understand, because they don't want to have to stop work every time they see a tree. But I would encourage the council to support this ordinance, but I also encourage the development of a protection of trees checklist that could be used internally within the town and Public Works Department, and other areas of town where public trees are part of the process.
I would support that. I think that's a great idea. I noticed that exemption for Public Works, and I think that a checklist is a great idea, because a lot of times it came up with the paid sick leave when the town was exempt for things. It doesn't really espouse or look good and create the perception of the goodwill that we're trying to create. So I think we should try to uphold the policy, but if we can't, then it should be recognized.
Do you want to take the exemption out then, or do
No, I
you
think-
want
I
to,
think- I think-
do you want to add a requirement specifically that they do a protection of tree checklist? Because I don't know if you want to leave it just hanging.
The language in here is specifically, it does say work performed directly by the town personnel or contracted by the town council of the town of Morristown for curb, sidewalk, drainage, and street shape improvements, and under the supervision of the town engineer and in consultation with the town forester, may be exempted from one or more provisions.
Maybe.
Well, maybe. They could be exempt from one or more of the provisions listed below, provided that the remaining physical and procedural protective measures contained herein are implemented to the great extent possible. The key elements here are that in consultation with the town forester and the supervision of the town engineer. So I think that the appropriate checks and balances are being put into place here, and there's a hurdle for exemption of one or more of the procedures, but more than likely it's not all of them, and I trust at least this administration's town engineer to take all best practices into consideration. So I would encourage supporting this ordinance and having the Shade Tree Commission work with the administration to develop a checklist that could be used as sort of an educational basis, and we can decide in the future if we want to amend the code to include that checklist or not in the future.
Or we could just reword it now, and we could just put a period after listed below, period, and then just start off the next sentence with, to the greatest extent possible, or when, to the greatest extent, whenever possible, the town should adhere to the policies outlined previously. We could amend it here.
I'm not quite sure what.
It's not part of like the be it further ordained clause where, it's still part of the language where I think we could make that amendment and then introduce it.
Well,
Mr. President, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
As has already been explained, this ordinance has been worked on for quite some time between the Shade Tree Commission, our engineer, our forester, who are all the people who have intimate knowledge as to what it takes to protect our trees. And this was something that was worked on vigorously and has been agreed to by all parties.
Right.
I think every effort has already been made to make this ordinance as good as it can be to achieve the goals that we have. And there are very specific reasons why there may be unique construction circumstances that there may need to be an exemption. What I'd like to do, if I may, is have our town engineer draft a brief memo to you prior to the second reading and explain those circumstances and why this language is in here. And then hopefully that will allay any concerns.
Sounds good to me. All right, call the question.
Thank you. On the motion to introduce ordinance 025, 2017, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deed.
Yes.
Mr. Elms. Mr. Elms. Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris is absent. Mr. Iannicone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Yes, I'm here, sorry, yes.
Thank you. Council President, you have 6 yeas, 1 absent. That motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, the public hearing for ordinance 025, 2017 shall be our regular council meeting held on Tuesday, October 10th, 2017, beginning at 7:30. Council members, you have no ordinances for adoption this evening. Resolutions for adoption, having already heard Resolution R-150, 2017, you have 10 resolutions for consideration. What is your pleasure? Actually, you have
Just a
11
clarification. Is there a difference between 143 and 145? Description, and then I read through them also in the package.
Yes.
Are they the same?
No, they're two different.
Two different applications?
One's, if they're two different,
From the same grantor?
I'm sorry. Yeah, they're two different applications for similar project.
For the same what?
Similar project.
Projects.
Both from the Department of Transportation?
Yes. They're two different grant programs.
If no one wants to pull anything, I'd make a motion to adopt all Resolution 139 through 149 en masse.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster, Council Member Deeb, and I believe Council Member Davis, that resolutions R139, 2017 through R149, 2017 be adopted en masse. Any questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none on the motions to adopt, Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Deeb.
Yes.
Mr. Elms.
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yes.
Ms. Harris is absent. Mr. Iannicone.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Council President, you have 6 yeas, 1 absent, motion carries. The resolutions are all deemed adopted. Council members, that concludes the items on the regular business agenda for this evening. I had no old business items for discussion, nor new business items.
The old business, well, it wasn't on here, is the outstanding Housing Authority. I understand the committee has not had an opportunity to meet. Michelle Harris is part of that committee, and her absence is, she's missed. So I think, I just sort of defer to the rest of the other committee members to decide what approach to take.
Council President, I reviewed all 15 applications, and I did receive the application we received here tonight, and I understand that we have a quorum, but with the time frame that we have had, I think it's going on 4 weeks now, I think I'm ready to make a decision on the openings. So I would like to present it for the next meeting or the the second meeting in October.
I thought the whole point of the committee was to take the extra step. I mean, I've reviewed all.
I agree
all
with
the-
you.
all the,
I have met with,
resumes.
I have talked with people on my own, so I have done
But we're a
that.
committee, and we're supposed to meet as a committee to interview people. So I feel like we need a little time to allow other citizens who may want to apply for this position. We looked over applications. I think it's important that we have more applications. And I'm not ready to make a vote. I think we should extend it by 30 days.
Just a thought, if you'd like, I can join the committee for the
I would like
interviews,
that.
If you'd like, because, And maybe what we can do is take a Saturday morning and ask people to come in 15-minute increments through a Saturday morning. A couple of thoughts on that. One, anytime you volunteer for a public commission or a public position, there's a tremendous amount of gratitude from us and the community, but you are committing your time. So you should take the time to come and actually be interviewed for that position.
It's a good idea.
Okay? And secondly, I think the Housing Commission, for the first time in a long time, is really making some good strides. And I think we have to do the best we can to make sure that the right people are put on that Housing Commission, support the actions of the chairperson, and really continue to make the strides that they're just starting to make now, and not to be very certain about the appointments we make. So if you'd like, I'll make myself available this Saturday morning or Sunday morning.
What's the
We would
council?
we would need to identify of the 15 or 16 or whatever number, the right number is that we've received to date. Because I think we're past the designated date that we said. We were
That's
gonna-
true. Their designated date was September, end of August,
End of
actually.
August, so-
But I believe at the last
So we need to
meeting,
decide by tomorrow CB or Thursday COB, the names, and then we would give the names to Kevin, as
No.
we've done in the past, and he set up the meetings.
I believe at the last meeting, Councilwoman, with Councilmember Harris being absent, you and Councilmember Davis did not informally agree that you would continue to accept new applications
We
as
did.
they came in until you could vet them. So if you want
We
to set a
did.
deadline now, say
A
today is the
30-day deadline.
cutoff, or
Oh, I thought we were,
I think a 30-day deadline is sufficient. We do have a quorum for the
that's-
Housing Authority, and out of all of the people that
That's
are
the will of
here,
the
I'm the
council.
only one who attends these meetings. So I can say from personal experience what's happening at these meetings. And they're not, I don't think we should be hasty in making a decision. I think we need to seriously vet who is going on these commissions, because we can't have a crazy situation on any of these boards.
So are we able to open up the application process again?
It would have to
Extend it
be,
for-
yes.
I mean, I'd like to make a motion that we open it up. I mean, we've
I
been
second
looking at
it.
the same applications
Mhm.
for how long now? I mean, we need to have a heavier pool of candidates.
There's a good pool in there. I mean, you got quite a few good.
I believe with the application,
I'm not saying that we don't, I'm.
No, but that's good
No.
news, though.
there's
Right, I mean,
15
I'm glad that we have, qualified people that,
There's-
could serve, but I would also like, because we've been
16
dealing with this
including the one
issue
you
with the
got
housing
tonight.
authority for so long, that, we open it up and give, create more opportunity for other people.
There's 16
to be involved.
applications, 4 of which are new. The other 12 were candidates who previously applied. So the committee really already had a chance to vet most of those from the last cycle of appointment.
I think you're answering the question, Kevin. In order to extend it, we have to open up the application process.
Yes.
Why don't we do that then?
Okay. You want to set a deadline for the,
I think 2 weeks is acceptable.
okay. So 2 weeks from today is the 10th.
Can I make a suggestion, since we have 16?
Sure.
That's a lot. That's more than we had the last time. Can we start the interview process? I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's the will, that's
Say
up
we,
to this committee.
and then can we,
If
I
you
hate
give
to
me,
draw limitations, but with 16, if you pick 3, I pick 3, he picks 3, and just the odds are, that's 9. That's, figure 15 minutes each, that's your Saturday morning. So, I don't know. Not that that would happen, but do we want to limit it to the top 3? So, is that a good methodology?
I think that would be the will of the committee, of your subcommittee.
I would encourage you guys to sort of decide what methodology you want to follow, and
Okay.
And if you wish me to schedule people, if you want to do Saturday here, I will try to make myself available to be here as well.
You don't have to be here on Saturday.
Well, okay.
Just make sure a room is available.
Yes,
and-
I will do that.
And make the appointments.
Yes. Fair enough.
This Saturday works for me.
This Saturday doesn't work for me.
I'm flexible. We'll talk after.
Okay, we'll discuss it as the week goes on. Correspondence, any comments regarding correspondence? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, I know you guys want to go home, but on the grant for Loyola with the gate, that was really exciting to read about. Do you have any more information on that, or?
There's no new information.
No,
Right.
but we did do a walking tour of the land with the county. And we'll be doing a presentation, I'm not sure the dates, in October. We'll be doing a presentation to town in front of the county. That's the second part of the grant process. And they will make a decision at the end of that night.
So I gave the Loyola some blueprints when we were considering the sidewalk at that location from Loyola to Foots Pond. And I just was wondering, in that project, is there a plan for a pathway there to
No, not
to
that I
Foots
know.
Pond? No?
This is just
Okay.
this is
Just
just,
the
this is
face.
just to purchase the 11 acres. Keep your fingers crossed that everything goes well.
No, not that. This is the grant that's in the correspondence for the gate on
Gatehouse?
Loyola. The gatehouse.
Well, they're gonna
Oh.
bring that,
That was
they're gonna
actually
bring
part of the
that,
historical preservation money.
exactly,
that the
they're gonna bring that back
county
to
gives
its
up. They gave
original.
it to Redeemer
So
Church.
it's
they
just
gave
the
it to some-
gatehouse?
Just the gatehouse.
Just the gatehouse, and it's to renovate it because of its historical significance.
Right, which is really
Is that
great.
the gate, or is it
No,
further
it's
back?
It's a little
that
house.
building on that right-hand side when you
Right.
go through the entrance.
Okay.
Right, and the really good thing
Old
about
house.
it, it goes in concert with trying to preserve that land as open space. That historical preservation, the school being there is really kind of open space. When you think about it, it's not going to change. Foots Pond. So when you look at the whole pathway, you can really get a really good feel of, what, 25 acres was it? Total? Something like that, 20? No, the whole thing they were talking about. When you encompass the whole area, it's like 25 acres. It's pretty cool. Thank you.
motion to adjourn.
It's been moved by Council President Armington, seconded by Council Vice President Foster. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed have the same right. Meeting adjourned 9:38 PM. The next meeting shall be Tuesday, October 10th, 2017 at 7:30 PM. Good evening, all.